The Gymnast by Sophie Kipner. I had an affair once with an instructor at a gym for kids. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m., I had to take my sister's little girl to her exercise class. She said she needed the help, but I think she was up to something. My sister is always trying to set me up. The place was tucked next to a firearms outlet in a strip mall in Palmdale. Who opens a kids' gym next to a store selling loaded guns? I guess people from Palmdale do. I didn't make a move for the first 6 classes. I'd watch him try to stretch with the kids and remember thinking how inflexible he was for a gym teacher. I don't think anyone else noticed, though, because they were all too busy looking down, bending over. When he'd say things like, "Who here can touch their toes?" I'd quietly scream, "I can!" He couldn't hear me, but I'm pretty sure he could tell from my body language that I, too, wanted a reason to say, "Ta-da!" Besides the obvious balls, ropes, trampolines, cheese-shaped mats, and makeshift monkey bars, the gym's walls were lined with racks of peculiar toys, the majority of which, for some miserable reason, were fake food items made of felt or plastic. Pizza Parlor was my niece's favorite. I had to play it ad nauseum whenever I babysat, so I was intimately familiar with the rules. Not that we stuck to them. I hate rules. I never understood what could possibly be entertaining about pretending to cook, or worse, pretending to serve a meal, let alone an inedible one, but it's all those little shitheads seem to want to play with. Let's all pretend to be a poor waitress in Brooklyn! That sounds really fun. The minute I met Doug, though, I realized what the fuss was about. All I wanted to do was to play house with him, to feed each other slices of that fake plastic pizza and chomp the air together, moaning in delight as our eyes locked upon each other with unabating affection. It's ridiculous how good that plastic tastes when you know how to hone your imagination. "Did you make this?" he'd ask me, to which I would happily and coyly reply, "I'm glad you like it. I used all organic ingredients." I'd purposely use the word organic, so he'd think of the earth, because images of the earth lead to thoughts of primitivism. Once I'd get him there, he wouldn't need any more hand-holding. But that didn't happen. He was so oblivious I had to corner him in the bathroom. I followed him in, but pretended like I didn't know he was already in there. I'm a pretty good actress. I turned around quickly and locked the door. "The kids will be fine for a minute," I said. "How's my little Mary doing out there, Doug? Is she improving?" I wanted him to think she was my kid, not my niece. That way he'd think I was fertile. The points in his cheeks flashed hot colors. His back stiffened, and he said he was uncomfortable, but I knew what that meant. He liked me, but didn't know how to show it, like when boys used to push me down the stairs at recess and laugh. His pretend innocence spiked my attention. I could tell he'd never been with a real woman before. He started to sway back and forth. He wanted to dance. I followed his moves to the right and to the left. I let him watch me. It was nice. He braced himself on the railing, and so I took it as an opportunity to move in. I was bigger than he was, which made that kind of maneuver more effective. He started to shift his weight again. "Are you a dancer?" I asked coquettishly. "What the hell are you doing?" he said. "I have to watch the kids. They need a leader, and it's time for a sing-along." From day one, he's been such a tease. I told him I was clean right away because I know how scary it can be in the drawn-out moments just before you know what's going on. Like when you take an STD test and the nurse calls you, but you let it go straight to voicemail because it's an unknown number. The message says they have the results and to call back as soon as possible. Naturally, this sets you into a downward spiral, imagining how you'll tell your next lover you have Hep C. That panic ends when you call back and hear the word negative prance through the phone. Telling him right up front was like picking up the call the first time, which I thought was pretty considerate. I let him swim past me. A real fish out of water, I thought. I started to panic, but realized that was what fed the eroticism. This guy really knew how to play games. That night, I Googled Doug and Your Gym Fitness for Children and found out his last name was Reynolds. Great last name. After our little rendezvous in the bathroom and discovering via more research that he was single, the light could not have been more green. I had the universe behind me. After dinner, I crocheted him a small yellow blanket so we would have something post-coital to pull over our cold, bare shoulders, because we'd be outside, like animals, in our natural habitat. The breeze alerting my soft nipples, the rush of potentiality, the goosebumps on our chests reminding us that fear is really just a descendant of love. I chose the color yellow because I studied color therapy. Yellow stimulates the solar plexus chakra, which directly affects intellect and judgment. I wanted to give Doug every resource to relax and do the right thing, so that our future together would be untethered and uncomplicated. We were off to a good start. Waiting a week to see each other again was pure agony. By the time the next Tuesday rolled around, I was chomping at the bit. Mary was being a bit of a prick that morning, but I told her that I would never let her eat ice cream again if she didn't go to the gym. "But I don't even like ice cream," she said. Clearly wasn't getting anywhere, so I employed an ancient and well-tested trick called guilt. "Do you really want to stop your auntie from finding true love? Do you want to send me to an early grave with an unfulfilled heart? It's your choice." She was only 4, but I'm pretty sure she wasn't picking up what I was laying down because she just stood there with her hands on her hips and said she didn't care. Confronted with that amount of sass, I was forced to do what any adult would do in my situation. I started repeating everything she said until it made her want nothing more than to go to her gym class. We pushed ourselves through the heavy glass doors, which I suppose stood as a protective barricade of sorts, so that children didn't run savagely into the streets or get snapped up by strangers passing by, specifically strangers going to the firearms outlet. The music started to play, and Mary unenthusiastically slipped her tiny feet out of her favorite pink sparkle slippers, then gave me a look of death over her shoulder, as if I had forced her to be there. Drawing out the moment, she reluctantly dragged her feet to the other side of the gym. I took a seat next to the only other young mother in the room. I say other mother because to Doug, I was a mom and I didn't want to risk blowing my cover. I used to act in college, so implementing these skills was no problem. "Hi, I'm Mary's mom, Tara," I said, extending my hand, proud of myself for making new friendships, as my therapist has suggested. "Oh, hello. I'm Clarissa. Nice to meet you. My little one is Tyler, over there in the green shorts." You could tell just looking at Tyler that his dad would have to be a real fox, because this woman next to me, with her pasty skin and drab hair, was no beauty pageant winner. Not being rude, just saying. Doug walked in looking ravishing as usual. He didn't need to go through all the trouble to look good for me, but to be honest, I appreciated his clear and consistent effort. Gratitude was another emotion I was learning. "Come on, everyone," he shouted, corralling the children into a manageable circle. "What animal are you?" he asked, with no determinable response. Realizing he needed to show, not tell, a quality of his I so adore, he started jumping around like an ape, his hands flailing and scratching his armpits, his mouth making weird, unbecoming sounds. "Monkey!" they screamed. "Gorilla! Ape! Chimp!" He just nodded his head encouragingly to each, as if the name of the species were enough. "I hate it when he does that at home," I said, turning my attention back to Clarissa. "I mean, it's cute here and all, but in the sack it's really distracting." Her head tilted towards me, her eyes widened. "Oh, you and Doug are together?" "I thought you knew." "Yes, we are. Very much together, actually. He's a great dad to Mary. He's not her biological father, but he really stepped up to the plate once her real dad was shot." "Oh, that's absolutely terrible." It was. Even though it was a little while ago, Doug is still affected by it. It was his identical twin brother, after all. I leaned in closer. "I think he's still suffering because his behavior has been extremely erratic lately. His depression must be manifesting through his moods." "In what way?" "Well, he's been pretending to not know me lately. It's the strangest thing," I confessed. "It's very hurtful. Sometimes he'll even forget Mary's name." The woman looked stunned, shocked. Her gaze traveled the room to Doug, her disappointment in him slowly spreading with the viscosity of blackstrap molasses. With each millimeter it crept, her understanding became more readable. Some may have thought this tactic was risky, but to me it was a win-win situation. If he noticed me, Clarissa would be pleased to witness his recovery and transformation. If he didn't, his lies would eventually catch up. They always catch up. I know this because hindsight is 20/20. When the class was finished, I casually wandered towards the safety gate and stretched my leg over with dramatic execution to ensure Doug noticed my improving flexibility. I had been touching my toes all week in preparation for that moment. We were both so nervous to see each other again, we barely detected the faint wash of unused gunpowder that stained the air next door. Swarms of riotous children pushed past me, but nothing was going to get in my way. I was ready. I projected my chest and elongated the back of my neck and walked over to him quickly so he didn't have any time to get wiggly. The end.